Good evening, everyone. I hope you've had a great time in this course. I've really learned a lot and enjoyed it. For tonight's final assignment on this discussion board, I'm going to address the question of scale and how it factors into a government's ability to effectively operate and meet the needs of its population, as is everyone else. To do so, we'll consider the lectures on size and scale by Dr. Don Livingston, along with material on two of the great thinkers in political order, Thomas Hobbes and Johannes Althusius. Additional perspective on the influence or impact of size and scale in a republic comes from recent commentary on scale in support of the poor and fiscal transparency in government. Finally, we'll look at another perspective on scale regarding city, province, and empire through the lens of Thomas Aquinas. In the lectures on size and scale provided by Dr. Livingston, he explained the differences in viewpoints in Hobbes and Althusius, both in their prime in the 17th century, when their respective theories of political order gained notoriety. The greatest contrast between the two camps being what each believed was a suitable size for a nation or republic. Hobbes favored to the side of larger nations, even monarchs, and can be exemplified by the indivisible quest by Lincoln to restore the Union during the Civil War. Althusius favored a smaller scale to achieve the virtues desired for a state with the values of family and community at the heart. There are advantages and disadvantages to both concepts. Large-scale states have a greater base from which to tax for services and support provided to the population. Chief among these would be defense. A disadvantage of large states is the number of entities requiring, desiring, or relying on the financial support from the state, and that can stretch the limits to which the state can adequately provide that support, thus requiring an increase in the size of government and either the elimination of some programs or the raising of additional revenue from the population, meaning more taxes. This issue is supported by Alt, Lassen, and Skilling in their article, Fiscal Transparency, Gubernatorial Approval, and the Scale of Government, Evidence from the States, from State Politics and Policy Quarterly in fall of 2002. Their study looked at spending and revenue and determined that fiscal transparency does increase the scale of government in American states. Another disadvantage is in the realm of representation. Unless the population is properly represented by their officials, the nation risks a loss of direction or mandate from the people it's built to serve. James Fishkin noted in his book Democracy and Deliberation, New Direction for Political Reform, that only in a small republic is it possible for the public interest to be understood. He referenced Montesquieu stating, "In an extensive republic, the public good is sacrificed to 1,000 private views." Lawrence, Hosono, Karras, and Lynn, in Getting to Scale, take the view that for nations to successfully fulfill their role in support of the poor in the land, rising to large scale is a requirement. They explain the risk involved in reaching for scale and compare some of the risk-reward aspects to those actions taken by corporations in their quest to become larger and more successful, thus expanding their range and scope of operation. Finally, Nick Acerrone looks to Thomas Aquinas for advice in the size and scale discussion. He notes that Aquinas' understanding of the relationship between the forms of human community and political categories were exemplified by city, province, and empire. To grasp this, he also explained the relationship of household, clan, and village, or in church terms, parish, diocese, and universal church among the various religious orders of the time. Aronay draws a connection between these concepts from Aquinas to how the Constitution for the European Union was drawn. He states within the European Union, subsidiarity is offered as a mechanism by which the competences of European institutions are kept in balance with the continuing powers of the member states. This subsidiarity is related to the political principle calling for decisions to be taken as closely as possible to the citizen. Aronay also remarks how Aquinas addressed the question of federalism in a negative context. He believed that only particular individuals possessed the requisite wisdom and virtue to perform the functions of governing, which lends more to the idea of hierarchy, not federalism. This suggests a limitation of the ruler's authority, which is not in line with the doctrine of popular sovereignty, similar to what emerged later in the United States. So, it's a complex issue with many different aspects to consider. Dr. Livingston posed the question in an interesting manner when discussing this dilemma potentially facing the United States: divide into smaller federations or remain one nation indivisible. He did not provide an answer, nor really could he, but as he said, the time has come to talk about it. We live in interesting times, perhaps more complicated in many ways than any other time in our nation's history. It'll be interesting to see how or if this issue comes up in the coming days, and if so, in what manner of debate will occur. Thank you, and everyone have a great end of term, and good luck in your classes for next term. Thank you.